work together. We need your help that we're working on. You've heard a preliminary presentation about an incentive strategy that we're thinking about doing, that we want to do as we do this comp plan, as we start working on the comp plan, defining our future. We recognize that having some understanding of the incentive package would be the right way for us to create a future and then help encourage getting there. So we've given you an outline. Today is going to be an extension of another model of that outline. Nothing's definitive. All of this is conceptual. It's an opportunity that we really want to put together something that will be beneficial. And for it to be beneficial, we need your input. So we're going to do a presentation for you, and then we'll ask questions. We'll give you all answers we don't have specifics. Again, this is a work in progress. This is just an opportunity for us to show you what we've got and solicit inputs. Hopefully, you'll be willing to share with us your thoughts or your questions or your concerns and help us build towards a complete project, a complete plan that will help benefit the community in recovery. Once we get this plan done, let's get started on the right way to get to it. So this is your meeting to give us some input. So take advantage of it, because this is how we're going to build this program, is with input from you. So please do that. And we've worked on this together. Blake is going to do a presentation for you to look at and think about. So be ready to answer questions. But specifics are not going to happen because we don't have the specifics answered yet. That's what we're going to figure it out.
Thank you, Mayor. As you said, I'm going to run through this. It's a lot more detailed of a presentation than we gave a couple of weeks ago. That's intentional. And that part of this is trying to explain more in detail what the goals and the intent is behind these draft programs. Also, is to respond to some of the questions that we've already received from the community and try to help further explain what our intent is with these programs. So I'll run through this as quickly as I can. It's going to be a lot of information, so I apologize up front. I'm going to run through just a little bit of a background. We've had some questions about, can the city do this? Should the city do this? What is it legal for the city to get involved in and provide these types of incentive programs? So we're going to give some background there. Also, give some background on some of the resident feedback that we have already received that these programs are an attempt to respond to. And then an overview of the programs themselves, the types of projects that we're kind of outlining and targeting as part of these programs. We've also pulled some examples of some local projects as well as some projects from communities nearby, just to give you a little bit more detail and a picture for 1,000 words sometimes. And so to try to show you some of the projects that would qualify and that we kind of have in mind as the types of projects that we would want to target. And then finally, to conclude with just walking through the application, the evaluation, and the approval process for projects that might want to take that kind of program. To start with just a little bit of background. So the state law does provide two constitutional amendments, Constitutional Amendment 750 and 772. 750 applies only to Baldwin County. 772 applies to every municipality throughout the entire city, throughout the entire state. Both of these provide very broad economic development powers for cities to get involved, to incentivize in a lot of different ways private development projects that serve a public purpose. And that public purpose can be defined very, very broadly. And it really kind of depends on what the goals are for each individual community. But these have been in place for a long time. They've been utilized. The powers under these constitutional amendments have been utilized throughout the state, as well as within Gulf Shores. So this isn't necessarily a new concept. We've never had adopted programs per se, but we've used these powers on many occasions. And I've listed some of those here on the screen. Additionally, we do have development incentives baked into our zoning ordinance. Those have been in place for over 15 years. So it's a little bit of a different, that these are height and density bonuses for specific areas along the beach. That again, these incentive programs have been in the zoning ordinance for 15 years, and they've been utilized in the recent past for certain projects. So just a little bit of a background, just to let you know, these are things these programs, as they're presented today, are a little bit new because they're adopted programs, or proposed to be adopted programs. But the idea of economic development incentives for projects is not a new idea within the state, and also not a new idea here within the community. Additionally, we've heard some concerns about not having any resident feedback and not the community not having input. Part of that is the reason that we're here today. It is to give you the opportunity to learn more and to provide more feedback on these specific programs. But we've also received significant input through our resident satisfaction surveys that we do biannually. We'll be doing another one later this year, but our most recent one was in 2024. The number 3 priority that we heard from the community was enhancing the quality of community and economic development. That was behind traffic. No great surprise there. That was probably the number 1 priority. And then also maintaining our infrastructure, streets, and sidewalks. That was number 2. Number 3 was the quality of community and economic development. So that's feedback that we received from the community in 2024 that these programs are attempting to. During that same survey, we also received feedback that only 32% of residents were satisfied with the redevelopment of abandoned or what they consider underutilized properties. Additionally, only 50% were satisfied with the quality of new commercial development within this community. Again, this is a 2024 resident satisfaction survey. So this is information that we have received from the community, we've heard, and that these programs, again, are trying to help address those concerns and help kind of move us forward to get at some of these things that we're already hearing from the community. So getting into the program itself, these are targeted incentive programs. They are not entitlement programs. They are not open to everything and every kind of project in the world, or an entitlement program that would be, hey, if you invest X number of dollars in the community, you're guaranteed to receive X number of dollars back. That's not how this is structured. These are performance-based. These are intended to close gaps within projects. Again, not an entitlement program where you're guaranteed to receive anything. No one is guaranteed to receive anything as part of these programs. It's an opportunity to have conversations and hopefully to elevate the quality of the projects and create better projects for our community. Additionally, the goals are to expand our year-round economic activity, to strengthen the overall walkability of the community by creating projects that are walkable, that engage the street and the pedestrian environment, and help to kind of close some of the gaps along the street that currently don't have a whole lot of activity going on. Also to elevate the offerings that we have in the community to try to fill market gaps and provide things to our residents that we don't currently have. Additionally, to provide some additional leasable space for small businesses to expand within the community, to enhance the building facade and architectural improvements for the projects themselves, again, getting more to the quality aspect of it. And also, specifically along the beach area, we think this could be a tool for us to help reduce building heights. We have some of the properties that are included that I'll get to in just a second within these areas could develop by right today well over 20 stories. And as part of this program, we have a restriction in the beach area that any project that's part of this program would have to be 12 stories or under. So it doesn't force someone to take advantage of that, but we think it could be a tool for us to be able to help encourage a reduction of height, to help encourage projects that are more in line with the small town character that we hear from the community that we want to preserve. And so we think that's something that we could help use this as a tool to help encourage. And then additionally to spur the redevelopment of abandoned and underutilized properties. So as we talk about these areas, the Waterway Village area is what you see on the screen. Everyone probably kind of knows the general area of what we historically refer to as Waterway Village, which is the areas on the south side of the Intercoastal around Tacky Jack's, Acme, the Salute, the brewery, and moving south, as well as on the north side around Lulu's. We've also included the commercially zoned properties to the west around the legendary marine site, and then all the way along the Intercoastal, all the commercially zoned properties to the east as you get over to the new Outback Bridge coming up the Intercoastal. So this is the area when you hear us refer to the Waterway Village area as part of these programs, this is the area that we're defining that as. Similarly, the beach walking district area, this is the area that we're looking at. It's the existing walking district as it's currently defined, as well as the BT 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 zone properties that are along Beach Boulevard, east and west, from Windmill Ridge over to, I believe it's between 3rd and 4th Street. And then north, the BT 1 north zone properties up Highway 59. So again, these are the two areas, the Waterway Village area and the Beach Walking District area, the boundaries that we're proposing as part of these programs. So the overall structure of these programs is proposed to be that this is not for the city to give up any existing tax revenues that are coming to the city. This is only dealing with new revenues that we are not currently receiving. So new revenues that projects that come in will be generating, not anything that is an existing revenue. So as we look at the structure, we've heard a lot of comments and feedback about giving 20-year incentive deals. We're not guaranteeing 20-year incentive deals. We're trying to provide a framework here that we can work within. This is up to 20 years. It's up to 50% of the various tax revenue sources that projects can generate. It doesn't guarantee that anyone's going to receive 50%. It doesn't guarantee they're going to receive 20 years. That's just a framework and a parameter that we can work within based on the merits of the project and the gaps that are presented and justified within what we evaluate with each individual project that comes in. So what we are proposing is that the city portion of sales tax, city portion of lodging tax, and the city portion of property tax, again, the new revenue, not existing revenue, that is generated by a project could be eligible, up to 50% of those revenue sources could be eligible to be part of this rebate. And it could be up to a 20-year period. It could be a 5-year period. It could be a 10-year period. It could be a 3-year period. We don't know what that may be. That's going to be a project-by-project basis. But again, we're just trying to provide a framework. But these rebates will be performance-based. So again, you're not entitled to anything just because you make an investment does not guarantee that you're going to receive anything. You have to perform. You have to actually complete the project. You actually have to be creating new revenues. So these rebates will only kick in after a project is complete and is actually creating new revenue for the city. So it's very much performance-based. And we do have the ability, again, these are frameworks, we have the ability to tailor this as we go. Yes, we see that, we need to further tailor this because of feedback from the community or the types of projects that we're seeing that we really want to target that to fill a gap that we're not seeing the projects in. We can set caps. We can kind of tweak this as we go if we need to. This is, again, it is intended to be a framework, not a rigid structure. The types of eligible projects that would be part of this program are mixed-use developments, chef-driven or destination restaurants, boutique retail and specialty shops, high-end or boutique hotels or lodging components, and then entertainment-focused uses. I'll get into kind of the details of what each of these mean in just a second, but one thing we've also heard is concerns or questions about specific requirements related to projects, and those are legitimate concerns, and we agree. Those are not, but there's not a comprehensive list as part of these programs for specific project-related requirements. Those would be included in development agreements. So if a project is moved forward, is approved, by the review committee and finance committee, and is recommended approval to the city council, we would negotiate a development agreement that would get into all of those details of the performance-based requirements, the qualitative operational metrics, and design requirements, all kinds of things that would be included in specific development agreements for each specific project that would take advantage of this program. So those would be tailored for every individual project. So you're not going to see those details ironed out in the framework of a program like this. They're going to be ironed out as a negotiation and tailored specifically to each individual project. So when we say mixed use developments, what we mean by that is at least two, could be three or four distinct uses. Could be residential, could be retail, could be restaurant and office, could be hotel or lodging components, could be a blend of all of those, but incorporated within the same building or within the same master plan site. So that's what we mean when we say mixed use. We do want to see, obviously street level. One of the goals is walkability and engaging the street. So we want to see publicly facing street level components. We don't want to see, parking on the ground floor and everything elevated. So we want to see something engaging the street, but that's what we mean when we say mixed use developments. Chef driven or destination restaurants. These are restaurants that provide a unique menu. They provide something that maybe we don't have within the community today. They elevate the culinary profile of the community. They really lean into the design, the environment that they're creating on the inside, and the architectural improvements that they're doing on the outside, and create a unique experience that is something that we all could enjoy. It's not necessarily white tablecloth. It's not necessarily any one component. It's trying to create something and incentivize something that we don't currently have, and to elevate the offerings that we all have to enjoy in the community. Boutique retail and specialty shops. These are what adds flavor to a community. I'll show you an example of a couple of these in a minute. But these can be small format retail. They don't have to be large developments. They could be 3 or 4 combined tenant spaces. They could be one unique boutique retail shop that provides a unique experience. Again, this is just a category. There's not a specific criteria that you have to fit into this box. We're just trying to provide an opportunity to incentivize all types of retail components, not necessarily national chains. That's not necessarily what we're looking at here. We're looking at more what adds to kind of the local flavor of our community. High-end boutique hotels. These are ideally developed where they're integrated into the walkable environment. Again, it's not parking on the ground floor and everything elevated above it. It's engaging the street front. It's creating a more walkable pedestrian environment. And again, emphasizing design, emphasizing quality, emphasizing the experience that they create. And then finally, the entertainment focused uses. These could be mixed use. They could be indoor or outdoor, but they're kind of more tailored to a leisure, fun atmosphere. Something that's family friendly, provides social activity for people to kind of engage and create community around kind of an entertainment, socially focused atmosphere. So now I just want to walk through a few examples. Again, some of these are going to be, a couple of them are actually from our community. Others are from adjacent communities, just to give you a little bit more of a flavor of what it is that we're looking at here. So when we say boutique hotel, or this one actually would also be a mixed use project, this could be an example. This is a project called Lily Hall that's over in Pensacola. It's a 15-room boutique hotel. They have a virtual front desk, so it's not you check in on your phone, you walk in, but there's not a full-time front desk that's sitting there. But they also incorporated a really unique restaurant on site called Brother Fox, and then they had a speakeasy on the other side called Sister Hen. They've got an outdoor space that they have events with. So again, this could be a mixed use project, could be a boutique hotel piece of it, but just an example of a redevelopment of, this is an older building that they've invested in and redeveloped, and created a pretty unique project that we feel like would be a great example of the kind of project that could fit in to one of these programs. Another example of redeveloping underutilized or abandoned properties. A great example here, just right down the street with Galway Irish Pub and the lofts that were developed above that. On the left side, you see what was the old mattress store. And on the right side is what this development team was able to create. I think this is a great example of the kind of projects that we would like to continue to encourage. They were able to do this without an incentive program. The question is, how many more could we help create through these programs, just like this? This is just a local great example of what we think could fit into our environment and really helps to elevate this entire area. This is a little bit of a larger project. It's called Seaboard, the Seaboard Resort. It's a 226 room resort, but it's not just a hotel. It has a spa and has 3 additional food and beverage outlets that are very, very high quality. One's a chef-driven restaurant. One is a nicer mixology focused cocktail lounge, and then they have the more relaxed family kind of oriented poolside restaurant and lounge, all incorporated in the same site. Again, developed in a way that engages the street. It's very pedestrian and bike oriented. So again, it's not parking it below and everything kind of disconnected from the street, or a big parking lot in front and all the active uses pushed back from the road. This is engaging the street and creating that atmosphere that we're really wanting to incentivize. Another example from Pensacola is a relatively new restaurant called Pearl and Horn. This is an idea of what a chef-driven restaurant could be. It's got 200 seats, have a very unique menu, and have really done a great job of creating a unique experience on the inside of the restaurant. Just an example of what a chef-driven restaurant could be. Another example down the coast of Florida called Shunk Gully. This could be a destination restaurant. Again, you look at, it's kind of an indoor-outdoor concept. You've got 2 floors. It's really developed along the street front. You've got the outdoor dining that's engaging the street. All the parking is back behind the building. So it really encourages that walkable atmosphere and creates a fun, lively environment along the street that we think we would like to help create here. We get into boutique and specialty retail. Another example from Pensacola, Everman Cooperative Grocery and Cafe. So this is a grocery store. It's about half the size of a traditional grocery store. They're very much focused on natural foods, organic foods. They also have a cafe restaurant as part of, you can see the people sitting out with the cafe seating, eating as part of this grocery store. They also provide weekly classes to the community for cooking and gardening and healthy living. Those are the kind of things that would be great to offer in our community. And these are the kind of projects that we could try to help incentivize to locate here. Again, it's something that we don't currently have, and that would be providing a tremendous benefit to the community through the engagement and the classes that they're offering free of charge to the community. Another local example that I think is a great model for what we would want to try to help encourage more of is Midtown Gulf Shores and what they created there. Between Happy Factories and the fitness club and the professional office spaces that are there in Midtown, and new things that are coming there. They've done a great job of creating really high quality architecture and high quality tenant spaces for small businesses to expand and grow in our community. And we think so a perfect example of the kind of things that we could try to help create more of. And finally, an entertainment-focused project. This was formerly called The Hub. It's now called The Big Chill on 30 This is what you see on the top picture is kind of a central green space and music and event venue that is kind of surrounded by small format food and beverage outlets that have 8 of them. And then also they have 23 additional retail and office spaces incorporated within the property. These are not large restaurant spaces. They're kind of food kiosk setups that provide some pretty high quality food and pretty diverse food options that are all centered around this green space and have communal seating, so they're not having to provide individual seating for their individual restaurant space. They all share the seating that's in the middle. So again, just an example of an entertainment focused project. There's also a mixed use project that we think could fit into the environment we're trying to create. So finally, I'll close with just going through the project application evaluation and the approval process. So applicants that want to take advantage of this program would have to apply to the review committee. That is a staff review committee that's proposed to be made up of myself, Lee Jones, our assistant city administrator, and John Walker, our city administrator. We would review any application that comes in and evaluate them based on what you see here on the screen: their capital investment, the job creation, public improvements, whether that be additional public parking that they're proposing to create, additional landscaping, public plazas, new sidewalks, whatever public components they're proposing, the architectural quality of the project, any sustainability or resilience features that could be floodproofing, down on the beach, utilizing floodproofing construction techniques to drop the building down to a more pedestrian grade. Is it a year-round operation? So if you think back to some of the goals, it's to expand year-round economic activity. That this is a seasonal business. Is that one that we want to incentivize? That's a question, and it's part of the evaluation process. And then generally the attractiveness, does it fill a gap within our communities? It's something that we've heard from our residents that they want to see, and it's something that we think would be supported. With these applications, they must demonstrate all of their capital stack, what their financing is going to look like. So we're going to understand exactly what that is. We want to understand what their experience is. Have they completed other similar projects, or is this their first one? Doesn't necessarily disqualify someone, but it's part of the evaluation process. Provide any market studies that they have that would help us understand the viability of the project. Provide design, schematics, engineering, architectural, and site plans so we can understand what's the project going to look like. Is it real? Are there any concerns from a design standpoint? Are there architectural components that we would like to see enhanced that maybe the program could help close the gap on? And then what are they estimating the project costs? What are the construction estimates? And also, what does their financial performance look like? How much revenue is this actually expected to generate for the community? And then finally, this goes back to this not being an entitlement program. Any project would have to demonstrate a legitimate financial gap in order to take advantage of this program. It's not, hey, I invested $20 million, you're going to get me $5 million back. What's the gap? How is this program going to help close this gap? And that may be through additional things that we want to see. It may be through dropping building heights. It may be through adding additional architectural features to a project, or adding additional uses within a project to enhance it and provide more to the community. And then we can help close that gap. But we have to see a legitimate financing gap to tie this to and to justify them taking advantage of this kind of program. And then if the review committee approves a project, we would then take that to the finance committee, and I'll go through the whole kind of flow chart in just a second, who would then make a recommendation. And if they approve it, then we would get into those detailed negotiations of a development agreement and put in the performance benchmarks, negotiate all of the various requirements that we would want to see tied to that specific project based on whatever that project is, to guarantee that the project that is being proposed is a project that actually gets delivered. So that's where you're going to see all of the details of the development agreement itself and all of the specific project-related requirements that we would negotiate, and all of that would then come back to a public meeting, to the city council, to public hearings, and everyone would have a chance to weigh in on those. Again, the rebates would only begin after a project would be completed and was actually generating new revenue for the city, not until then. So just kind of illustrate that review process. An applicant would submit their project. The review committee would review that application. The review committee would make a recommendation to the finance committee. The finance committee would then make a recommendation of their own. If they were in favor of it, then we would get into the development agreement negotiations. Once we had a development agreement that the city was comfortable with and that the developer was in agreement with, we would then bring that to the city council, to public hearings, for public input, for everyone to be aware of and hear about, and then for a public vote at a city council meeting. And we would keep the city council, all of the city council involved throughout the process. Anytime we receive an application, we would let them know, hey, we received this application. So everyone would have an opportunity to weigh in throughout the process. So just to recap, these programs are intended to incentivize high quality private investment within the areas that we've shown, the Waterway Village area and the Beach Walking District area, to strengthen our walkability within the city, to expand our year-round activity, to elevate the dining, retail, and lodging offerings that we offer within the community, and to fill gaps that we have within our market, to provide new space for small businesses to grow and expand within our community, to promote higher quality architectural and facade improvements for the projects. Again, going back to the feedback that we've received from the community, from our resident satisfaction survey, not being satisfied with the quality of private commercial development that's happening in the community. Also, to hopefully encourage in some areas in the beach area to reduce some building heights, to use this as a tool to do so. And also to spur the continued redevelopment of abandoned and underutilized properties. So what these programs will not do is they won't commit the city to any kind of upfront financial commitment whatsoever. They do not guarantee that any project receives any incentive of any amount. This is a framework, this is a tool that we can use to market, but it doesn't guarantee anything. It will not give up any portion of existing tax revenues whatsoever. This is only dealing with new tax revenues that are generated by projects. And as I mentioned, it won't, this framework of the program will not provide a comprehensive list of all of the requirements that would be project specific. Those things will be included in any future development agreement for any individual project, but you're not going to see that in the framework of these programs. What it will do is establish adopted priorities by the mayor and council that identify the types of projects that we want to try to attract to the community. That's extremely helpful when we're having conversations with the business community, to be able to go to them and say, the mayor and council have adopted this. These are the priorities. These are the things that they want to see. Really helps move conversations along versus saying, I think they might want to see this. I think that we might be able to get support for that. We have an adopted plan. We have adopted priorities that really help to advance those conversations and really clarify everything for everybody involved. This does provide a framework of potential incentives that we could then use as a marketing tool to work with local development teams, regional development teams, or even national development teams, depending on the project, to try to incentivize the types of development that we want to see. So this is really, more than anything, it's a marketing tool. It's not guaranteeing anything, it's not committing anything, but it is giving us the ability to have conversations with development teams and really advance those conversations in a lot quicker time frame and give everyone a more clear framework of what it is that we're looking to do and the types of projects that we want to see. And again, we think it gives staff a tool to help encourage building height reductions and to incentivize and encourage higher quality developments by being able to put things like this on the table to be part of that conversation through the development phase. And it would also require that any project that took advantage of this program in any shape, way, or form would have to enter into a project-specific development agreement that would give us the ability to get into all the details and requirements to get back to making sure that the project that is being proposed, that the pretty picture that we see is the pretty picture that this community gets. And that's what the development agreement would give us the ability to do. So I apologize, I know that's a lot of information, but again, wanted to go through in a lot more detail than we did a couple of weeks ago to try to help provide a little bit more information to show some more examples of what it is that we think that this program could accomplish for us, and hopefully to help answer some questions that we've heard and that you may be thank you in the audience. But with that, I'm happy, Mayor, to go back to these slides and provide more clarity or detail or answer any questions.
Thank you. All right, well, hopefully we give you an overview of what we're wanting to accomplish. It's very preliminary and it's very open to modification. Some of these are specific requirements that we are going to have to meet to be able to make this program work, but it doesn't define or limit the type of development that we are committed to. We are open for discussion and comment, and if you got a project that fits our goals and objectives, but doesn't fit this list, that's what you need to let us know. And your comments today will help us modify this to get a final presentation out that has business community input. That's what this meeting's for, and this won't be the last one. This will be a continued work in progress with no timeline in place of when we want to do this. We will put this out as soon as we get it ready. It will work in conjunction with our comprehensive plan that we're working on. That will define a lot of the future details of the city going forward. This is not dependent on that. This will be a partner to help. Once we get that done, this will help make the things happen, give you an opportunity to get some incentives to make the program that we put in place work. So this is a very preliminary first meeting we've had public like this. So questions, we don't have any specific answers, but any comments, maybe more than questions, would be really important for us to know what you think about this. So if you will, please identify yourself and tell us what you think. Or tell us you're not ready to think about it, whatever you want to do. But we're here looking for help to help us how we modify and grow the city to be better than we've been. So,
Could you start with why?
say again?
Could you start with why? We haven't heard anything about why you wanted to do this.
Our goal is create a better city, bigger city. We don't have a whole lot of development going on. If you think back specifically to things we're talking about here, I don't think we've had a new restaurant presented and built in a long time. And we don't have the things that other communities have that we'd like to encourage. We like what we've got, but we've got a lot of the same thing. Can we get something different? I know that I'm tired of going to Orange Beach for dinner. So, because I want to go somewhere where I can sit down and have a nice meal, and I don't eat much fried food. So I don't have a place here that my wife and I like to go. And that's just me and one person, but I'd like to see us have a broader variety of restaurants and accommodations here, and a broader variety of shopping opportunities. That's just me. Any other council have any comments about why?
I think Blake spoke to the why, but one of the primary reasons from the resident feedback, where he spoke to only 32% of residents are satisfied with the redevelopment, the abandoned or underutilized properties, and the quality of new commercial development. So that's one of the biggest reasons and hopes for this program. One of the other main things that Blake spoke to is also the ability to manage within our current zoning what we bring into these areas. So whether it's building heights or density, things like that. So in addition to increasing, I guess the third would just be just increasing options and variety, and really focusing on these two areas to further our vision for the town and small town districts, but just enhancing the walking experience, the dining experience, the shopping experience, the overall experience, and giving our tourists, our locals, more hubs to go and visit more frequently. And when they are there, stay there a little longer, spend a little more money while they're there, and do it here. You go, sugars.
You've said abandoned property a few times today. What constitutes an abandoned property in our area? I would have been that beach area that we're talking about.
Jason, even more, well, you tried to.
I think you just drive up and down Highway 59 and you see several properties that are abandoned. You've got the old glass building that's abandoned. It's not active. We have a cabin shop that's abandoned. Now that's not in the Waterbury district or the beach district, but we also have the Remax building there in the Waterway District. We have across the street, we have the old souvenir building, Cheese Bar, there right across from the original Oyster House. And we have an empty just south of the Gaslight Square. I don't know what that building is called. There that's underdeveloped as well. Let's just think a few off the top of my head. We have quite a few empty buildings. We have the.
What about residential? Speak to that.
This isn't really specifically incenting residential, but are there some dilapidated residential buildings? I think we try to approach those, and we've done that through a different mechanism.
But the zoning, Camille and I, we're in the 200 block. We're currently in the beach walking district, which is now prevented from building any new residential. It has to have commercial components. And our block has always been a residential, but there's never been any commercial in there. And the only way you're going to get the expansion of these in the beach walking area to expand to size enough to get these type buildings or restaurants or bigger things, you've got to move into the residential areas of 50-foot lots, which most of I live on a 50-foot by 100-foot lot. And in front of me is a vacant lot. And the way it's zoned, I could have up to a 10-story building built 20 feet in front of me. And the guidelines of that, the setbacks are 0 side setbacks. So anything built in there can be built up to anybody right up to the property line, 0 front frontage. So you're going to be incurring into the residential areas to expand to get some of these things. And that's where the issue comes in, is that it's going to erode our property values in trying to sell. If I try to sell my house, I've got to disclose it. That's commercial in front of me, and a 10-story building could be built, or like souvenir shop or something that's directly in front. That's going to erode what my house would be worth if I was still in a residential neighborhood. And we've had the property around for sale, and I could have sold all those it's residential lots, but they're prevented. My wife's cousin's family has owned that property since the 60s. That's vacant now, and it's the largest piece of undeveloped vacant land in the beach walking area, although it's somewhat limited by the shape of it, where it's at. And nobody's wanted to pay what it would be worth if we sold, say, 6 lots as residential lots. It'd be worth $350,000 to $400,000 or more per lot, $2.5 million. You're talking a 200 foot of frontage, and the depth is only 100 feet in the middle part of it. So it limits to what can be built there. Besides the parking requirements, there's no parking down at the beach whatsoever. There's no place for anybody to park. Now at night, cars are parked just to go to the restaurant. And they're
One restaurant.
Yeah, to get in the restaurants, and on holidays and stuff, there's absolutely no parking down there whatsoever. So in the size of the lots, if people are selling these small lots and then to develop commercial, they ain't gonna have room on their lots to incorporate enough parking. So that's gonna be a prime thing that it's trying to figure out. The city needs to figure out a place to build a parking garage or a parking area to increase the parking, because the amount of paid parking that they added a few spots, and you add about 20 times the number of spots that are available now to increase, because on weekends and on holiday weekends, there's no parking. People just drive around and trying just want to go to the beach, or can't even accommodate people, plus going to the restaurants. They park on the side of the road and park in our lot and everything else just to go to the restaurants. And so that's something that hasn't been addressed in quite a while, and that's got to be. It's eroding our quality of life down there. We're just landlocked. We can't get anywhere. We can't drive anywhere. So it seems like nobody's thinking too much about the residents that have been here for 40 years or whatever, what we're going to do and what our future's going to be. Although most of us pretty old how long our future's going to go. But for whatever it is, we'd like for it to be nice for our remaining years. and not get worse over time. So that's my 2 cents for us down in the beach walking district.
Roseanne?
Can we see the map where the green, where Malcolm is talking about where we all are, and then the blue expanded? Is that a possibility while we're discussing it? I think it's important because I know in the March meeting, there was discussion on savings clauses of existing houses and rebuilding and if by right. And I think that's a very important discussion going forward because some of these property owners might not realize that
It has to.
if I understand correctly, I know this is not anything now, but in the March, I believe the first week of March meeting, the savings clause was brought up for the area that I'm talking about, the blue that expands past the green, up to Hardee's down to 6th and east past the new map where you want to expand the area, the beach walking district.
Terrence, can you pull the presentation up, please?
It's like, there was one for the waterway and there was one for the beach walking district.
I assume there's like actual streets and stuff somewhere that we can look, not just this map.
Right. Yep. So
Well, but so currently, the way I understand it, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but since March, when I've been watching these meetings or whatever.
Right?
So the green, Malcolm and I were in the green district, it is what it is. But to expand to the blue would change zoning, correct?
So just to be clear, what we're talking about today has nothing to do with changing any zoning anywhere.
I know that, but to do what you want to do and what was brought up in the March meeting to bring more large-scale mixed-use developments, this was brought up in the March meeting where the savings clause and a big discussion between Mayor Kraft and Jennifer on savings clauses in existing houses. I feel like until something like that is discussed, it's pretty hard to talk about moving forward with such a large-scale project if you're talking about affecting property owners who've been there for years and years on issues of if their house would be able to be rebuilt. To continue with such I don't see how these two things don't go hand in hand. How can you want a beach, big project how do you offer someone that they can build a huge mixed-use development like the Embassy, which is the example that's been used in several of the meetings. Not saying anything against Embassy, I'm just saying it feels like a big focus is towards that type of development. And I promise you, I'm not afraid of the restaurant in the Embassy. You could go there and go 9 last night. I got pictures if you'd like to see it. And I promise it's not that I'm afraid of another business or a fancy business because mine is doing just fine. What I'm afraid of is other people and other residents and other people, businesses being affected by unknown outcomes or these out-of-state developments bringing in with lack of leadership, lack of management. The Embassy project has been through at least 3 general managers, however many restaurant managers. Their fancy, beautiful building is gorgeous. I have nothing to say against that. I like the employees. We give them a discount to eat with us. I know they send people across the street. So I know I've had a lot of issues with the Embassy building, but not with the Embassy as a business. With the city's lack of planning, we were told that we were given, back in 2018, they're giving us all this money for parking. And here we are 5.5 years later, and guess what? All that parking's not free. Our properties have been encroached on. I've lost footprint of my own property that I paid for because of expansions. And I've met with, Robert back in the day. It was Steve, different leadership in Gulf Shores over these projects. I've had right-of-ways claimed on my property. I have 2 less entrances to my 4 lots on a half of a city block that I own to try to help this expansion of Gulf Shores. And I feel like projects like the moving forward with this big presentation today cannot move forward without a discussion of what will happen to some of these properties if there's not a savings clause or if there's all of this is rezoned, because going back to the March meeting, that was an issue that I don't feel has been resolved. And I have asked questions to some city council members and I keep hearing that it's still a discussion we haven't decided, but I don't feel like we can move forward without a clear representation of how those blue areas would affect this project going forward.
Yep. What budget?
Go ahead.
Hi, I have 2 questions. First, I was wondering if you might be able to further explain what we mean by the financial gap. If you could just explain that more, because I'm not sure I quite understand that. The other statement I'd like to say is that, as a business owner in the community, I appreciate, the incentives and what you're working on here. But I will say that, we're trying to encourage, will the incentives encourage development? Possibly. I think it's a very small piece. If we're looking to encourage development, I think we can also do that by helping developers. Not every developer that comes into this area that's going to create one of these mixed-use properties or one of these restaurants or one of these activities, not every developer is a big, giant corporation. There are small developers. I don't necessarily consider us developers, but we've taken some properties and tried to rehab them and make something better out of them, better uses out of them in this community for the good of the community, because we love it here. And we want to offer our residents more, of course, tourists more, all the reasons. But it's difficult. It's been not only for us, but the process is difficult. And I've said it over and over again. Being in the real estate business, we've dealt with and talked to several people who had opportunity to develop, who had the opportunity to build here, who had the opportunity to create here, but they choose not to. We have had people tell us, I will not do it in Gulf Shores. And it breaks my heart to hear it, because I would love to see some of those things come here. I think we need them. It's not that the process is broken. I just think it needs to be reviewed. No one's doing anything wrong. No one's a bad person over it. It's just we need a process that's not so arduous and so laborious and long for a person who's trying to develop, a smaller developer. The corporations, I know they will slide right through it, but a smaller developer has a very difficult time getting through the process. We have a project we've been working on for years, and not every small developer can work their way through that process, and some just choose not to on the front end. So that's my comment. And Blake, if you could just speak to the financial gap.
Sure. So the financial gap piece of it, I'm going to sound a little bit like a broken record, but it's going to depend on, that's going to look differently for every project. On a small project, it may be that, there are pieces of the project that you would love to be able to do, but it just doesn't quite make financial sense for you to take that risk or for you to do that. And maybe those components are pieces that fit within this program that we want to help encourage. And maybe we can help close that gap and mitigate some of that risk for you by using this program. It may be the MC Suites, as it has been discussed a lot. When we did that deal with the MC Suites, the incentive that we offered was specifically tied to the media conference space. They, within their pro forma, weren't able to justify the size meeting space that we wanted to see, that we felt like would benefit the community and bring in people year round to help support all the businesses within our community. So we helped close the gap on the investment that it was going to take to increase the size of that meeting space, because we felt like it was worth it to be able to provide that for our community and have that space at the level that they now have it, to be able to bring in the types of various events, conferences, whatever throughout the calendar year to help expand the economic benefit of that project throughout the entire year. So there's just a couple examples, but again, every project's going to be a little bit different. But those are conversations that we'll have with individual projects to help identify those things. And it may be that we bring something to the table and say, hey, we would really like to see you reduce your building height. Well, I can't make that make sense. Okay, let's have that conversation. And maybe it makes sense for us and maybe it doesn't. I don't know that on every individual project, but those are the kind of things that we come up with.
One other comment on you. Speaking to what you said earlier, you mentioned the trying to reduce building height, and I know you mentioned 12 stories. 12 stories is still an extremely tall building, and I have a lot of concerns just seeing where MC Suites is right there in the corner. And again, same, I don't have anything against Embassy Suites. I just think it's not necessarily the type of development that we're looking for all the way down the beach. a 12-story building all the way down that beach is going to create a high-rise canyon of buildings along that beach road. And, we happened to be in St. Petersburg this past weekend celebrating a birthday. And one thing I noticed there, we were staying in the beach area at St. Pete Beach, and it just felt so comfortable, and it was such a nice place to be, and it just felt, you could see the beach from where we were staying, and I was like, what's the difference? What is it about this place that feels so relaxed and makes, people were walking and biking and all the things. And I realized that it was because there were no high rises there. Everything was low development. The house we were staying in was 3-story, and I don't think there was anything taller than that anywhere. So even at 12 stories, please just consider, and I know we have zoning for more, and I know people can do 20 stories, but the lower the better. We need to be able to have that neighborhood community down there and be able to see that beach.
I'll say one thing. This is, Lex used the word framework multiple times here. This is all this is. We're not here trying to tell you what you have to do on your property. We don't even know what your property is. We're giving you the opportunity, if you have the right piece of property, or if you're able to acquire the right piece of property and want to do one of these type projects that we're looking to create, we want to be able to help incentivize that. We're not here to try to tell you how to develop your property or tell you where to develop your property, but we're here to wanting to provide something to assist you in getting something done at a higher level of quality, something different than we have, and something that will fill gaps and create more opportunities here for all of us. So we're not trying to define your project or define where your project goes. You've got a piece of property, you want to acquire a piece of property or consolidate properties. We're giving you some framework to assist you in that. We're not telling you how to do that or where you can go, but we're giving you tools to be able to accomplish what you want to accomplish by using these to finding the right place to do what we're hoping you will do. So we're not here to define everything. We're here to provide assistance and a framework of how we can go forward together. So I don't know if we can answer specifics, but these are the kind of questions, things that we need to hear, questions and comments that don't have answers yet, but encourage more conversations like this. Let us know what you're thinking. That's why we're here. So appreciate your comments so far. Please keep them coming.
My name is Dean Smith here. I live on West 3rd Avenue, which, if you look at the walkway map, it's just right outside the walking district area from 2nd. And I've seen constant growth. I'm not against the walking district or anything like that. But my problem and my question is, what are y'all going to do to fix the other issues with these side roads? Say West 3rd, as a gauntlet, each time I have to come out of there, people got to constantly watch for kids, and Lord knows, God bless our first responders for as many incidents as I've had to see this year of people just darting across the streets. Also, with these blocked roads, even some paint, maybe some signage. Tell them not to block the roadways on 59. Or, maybe y'all fix some of these older roads that are already dilapidated. It might be a little jealousy, seeing everybody else hitting all these big shiny roads and extra accessibility with the regular town residents having issues of not even being able to get out of their house. And with turning it into in my opinion, turning it into more of a walkway district, I feel like we need to fix the old stuff first, which is, to me, seems like you guys like to go ahead and look at the bright future, which is understandable. But if you don't fix the old problems first, you're still going to have more issues once you dump more people in it. As far as the Waterway Village, where are these guys going to park? People are already over there. You look at Galway, they're already moving, as one of your shining examples over there. They're already moving to Beach Road. Why would they move if it's such a success? What's the real reason why y'all are trying to do this before fixing old problems? Like I said, West 3rd's right there on the cusp. People are constantly running back and forth. Kids running back and forth. bikes, e-bikes, just bolting out in front of you. And I'm an avid e-biker and a biker, so I understand the safety concept. I've been hit by a car on West 2nd and 59 on an empty street for people not able to teach. And that's what we need to stop trying to prevent. Start trying to prevent first before y'all start building your fake efforts. That's just my opinion.
Appreciate your comments. Yes, sir.
Hi. I'm going to offer a little fresher view of this and some questions. I'm not a developer, but I have developed many restaurant brands and hotels around the country and have been in it for about 50 years. And so I'm not going to talk about our problems. I have questions about the initiative in itself that I think needs to be brought to the public and some discussion. Is there a substantial list of inquirers to drive the initiative? Have you all been approached by multiple inquirers about what they want to do with, relative to the community? Chef-driven restaurants, do you have a list of chefs who want to come into the market? Do you have a list of boutique hotel owners who want to come into the market? Question? No? No? Okay. I didn't think so, but I think everyone needs to understand if there is or there isn't. Is there a timeline set to gauge the success or the disengagement of the initiative? To say, hey, man, we're hitting on all cylinders. We're 5 years into it. Boy, we're gonna revitalize this initiative and drive it for 10 more years. Or, hey, we gave it our best shot. We're just a good old town with a big beach. Has there been discussion of timeline that would be set to gauge success or disengage?
Yeah, we don't have anything included currently within the
And I know that's kind of down the road, but I think that's something that needs to be determined because a lot of questions from the developers and the people who are wanting to develop, how long do I have to sit on this to wait? So I think you might want to look at that. I haven't heard any discussions about marketing efforts to draw outside interest into this initiative. And I think that's probably down the road a little bit, but has there been discussion about a marketing budget that would make the region or the
We
state?
haven't even concluded that this thing is going to work. We're trying to hear from you. So you're getting way down the road and we don't even know.
It's just a question.
Yeah, no, we haven't gotten that far down.
Gotcha. A big issue, and I think we all can relate to this, is that in this marketplace, there's a lot of local objection and pushback to restaurant pricing, hotel and hospitality and condo pricing to the average tourist or resident. If we drive chef-driven restaurants, there's prices attached. If we drive boutique hotels and boutique boutique retail, there's prices attached that people have to be able to afford. Is our community prosperous enough for the residents to afford that type of dining on a regular basis, that type of retail on a regular basis, that type of bringing their relatives and their friends and their families in to stay in boutique hotels at those kind of prices? Because I've been in this community 16 years and have operated restaurants, and all you hear is pushback. I don't get enough for my money. Who can pay $19 for a hamburger? Who can pay $24 for a shrimp dinner? Those type of things. And I think we as a community really need to think about what we can afford as a community to push initiatives for those boutique chef-driven adventures and endeavors. So I think everyone should think about that long term, much longer than just right now, Mayor. But it's a fact, and everyone sitting in this room has said it at some point in time or experienced it. So I think that needs to be a lot of discussion too, as to when you're looking at people and you get inquirers, what exactly are they looking to do and how in depth are they going to get from that price tag? Because we've seen a lot of chef-driven, well, not a lot, but we've seen several chef-driven restaurants in this community not make it. Repeatedly not make it. And it's a very big concern to the restaurant operators in this community. That's
Ken Kickler, Tacky Jackson. I'm just going to speak from the restaurant community. For me, I love going to great restaurants and have a lot of different things too. And I'd love to see those kind of places here, but I don't feel good about incenting other folks to come in and get to have a tax refund, basically to build a business. And like you gave 3 examples, and like I said, one of them's already closing because there's a better location to do the same thing apparently. And then you got Skunk Alley, which is the same menu that Tack Jackson, Lulu's, and the Hangout. We all have the same menu, and then Big Chill. That little development, again, there's nothing being served there that's not being served here. So I don't feel like the restaurant industry needs this kind of help. It needs help. It'd be great to reduce all our taxes or give us a rebate, that kind of thing. But I don't see that the expertise is here to identify and get those restaurants that's going to meet these niches here. That if you have a good restaurateur that can come in and operate it, there's places to do it. And if you build strip malls, the developer can get that money and he could give incentives to people to come get in the business.
Check that. It's good. So, sorry.
I think it's great that the city's looking at doing something like this. Anything that helps Highway 59 coming into our city, which you compare it to Orange Beach, it's not up to snuff. And I'm planning on doing a little boutique hotel in the old Gulf Island building. That's it's been there for probably 40 years plus. I was planning on doing this before I heard of this incentive, which I first heard of about 2 weeks ago. I visit Ocean Springs area quite a bit, and they built a boutique hotel there about 6 years ago. Excuse me, called The Roost, with 12 rooms. Since that time, 8 additional boutique hotels have opened in Ocean Springs, running from 8 rooms to 14 rooms. A new one with 38 rooms. Anything we can do in this city to help the Gateway 59 is a plus for all of our property values and for the city as a whole and for our kids and grandkids. I've been here a long time. My kids are here, my grandkids are here, and we all want to protect our city. But if this is something that will bring additional revenue to the city and help the appearance of our city, I'm all for it. Thank you.
We got a comment here in the back that's been skipped over a few times. Right here.
Hey, Blair Castro. I live on 24th, so I wanted to give my perspective on that. First thing I just want to say is I am with you. We need more food options, particularly more healthy food options. I would love to see a Whole Foods. We've been talking about that, but anything we can do to incentivize that, I'm totally okay with. I appreciate the concept. I know it's not fully thought out and fully executed. In terms of the execution, you mentioned a 3-person staff review committee. I would suggest a 5-person committee with 2 residents or citizens on there as well as the staff, maybe one from Waterway Village District, one from the Beach Walking District, so you have that extra input from business owners or citizens who live in those 2 areas. You still got the majority with the 3 staff, but I think having a 5-person panel with those 2 people to offer insight would make it a much stronger and more transparent way to decide who gets the incentives. That was just my little feedback on the execution. In terms of the abandoned buildings, I agree. I've talked to a few council members about my thoughts on the abandoned properties. My question would be, what is the incentive to get the private property owners to actually sell their abandoned buildings so they could be redeveloped into something a little better? Do you have any ideas on that?
There's nothing currently in the program that would incentivize a sell other than hopefully this could help incentivize someone to look at a project differently if the land cost potentially is a deterrent. Maybe that's a gap that this can help mitigate to overcome that hurdle. There's a variety of hurdles that might be there, but if someone doesn't want to sell their property, there's nothing we can do to force that.
That's been my, I guess, fears that I see those properties and people just going to hold on to them forever. And then you have kind of like sore spots throughout what would be a jewel of the community. And there's not really anything government could or should do to like force people to sell their private property. So that just something to be foreseeable about. Also the walkability, as someone who lives on 24th, I love that we can just walk to the brewery. We can walk to Acme Oyster House, but there are no sidewalks there. And the more we build mixed-use developments, we have the pedestrian bridge, we need more people walking, more people almost getting hit by cars because there's a ton of cars, and there's no space for sidewalks there. In that neighborhood, we have the one sidewalk around the park, but I just worry about the lack of the sidewalks and safe spaces to actually walk, especially with the influx of more pedestrians. And also wanted to mention, you mentioned some examples from Pensacola. My office was right there in downtown Pensacola next to the courthouse. I loved it. I loved all the options, but with all of that comes an influx of unsavory criminal element happening. You can have the nicest, coolest concepts and like really neat restaurants and Evermans, and there's still, an influx of crime that's coming that the business owners can't do anything about and have had trouble with juggling that themselves. So, Chief, I don't foresee that happening to the extent that it is in Pensacola, but just something to keep an eye out for because it does come with the territory. That's all I got.
Thank you. Keith Mason. I've run a lot of small town family businesses throughout my lifetime across Alabama. Number one, I really like what you're trying to accomplish. I think it's really smart. I think anytime you open up conversation about smart thinking, you do get a lot of good answers. So I congratulate just the city in general to even open up themselves to sit here to abuse and probably positive thinking. And then that of itself says you're willing to do something different. And change is what everybody's looking for. And so success is measured in the way you adapt to change, not by never changing. And so I think some of the thing that's bitten Gulf Shores over time has been the less appetite to change. And maybe sometimes the less appetite to listen. And I think here what we're getting to see is there's a broader appetite to listen, which is going to lead to some healthy change. And for that, I think everyone in the community should be super pleased about the way you're attacking this. I do think too much flexibility leads to ambiguity. And so too many times we would try to be really flexible because we don't want to put any real hard lines to it because we don't want people to take advantage of it. But the ambiguity to it also leads us not to be able to lead to the things we're trying to accomplish. So sometimes I need less flexibility because I'm scared of someone taking advantage of it, because now I can let no one take advantage of it because there's too much ambiguity to it. And so I would think through those things. The other thing I would think through is when we talk about gaps, I understand gap funding really well. It's always the monster in the room for whatever you're trying to accomplish. Here's what else I understand. Developers are masters at manipulating their capital stack to produce a gap to you that now has become your gap. And here's the thing about the developer. The developer charges a development fee, which means he gets all his money up front. He don't care if you ever get tax revenue. He don't care if it ever actually does what your incentive promising you would do if they perform. The problem is the developer is not the one attached to the performance. So the developer fee is paid out in the beginning. The construction is over. The developer has gone back to Fairhope or wherever they're from. And now you're left to incentivize a person who's already walked out with probably $1 million to $2 million in developer fee. So I would think through, I'm saying, the gap fee and what those look like and how that's attached to a developer who's not really the owner or the operator. And those things could be healthy thought processes moving forward. I think the gentleman's a little bit right about food. We all understand that in Orange Beach and here we pay $15 for a milkshake. But let's think about why and what really we could do to accomplish that. I think that's what the city's doing with a really smart thinking. I think what they're trying to say, and they've said it over again, is that the reason we have high-priced food is because we're selling it to people only about good 4 months out of the year. So I've got to make my lick on you before you get out of here. So there's nobody here all year. So if I could help with the shoulder season and I had customers that were more consistent through the year, that would help my overall pricing. And so the more you have a consistent customer through the year, the less we can reduce pricing. I think that's why you want some of the growth. The growth is to help stop the shoulder seasons, help produce longer times. The last thing I would say, and I agree with the gentleman from Tacky Jacks, is that these guys who are thoroughly invested in the neighborhood, and you tell these gentlemen who have, we all know from small town investments and running small businesses, we're all in when we do that. Our whole livelihood is on the line. I've lost houses, I've gone bankrupt, I've done all of it. And so the thing is I agree with, I think what has to start first maybe is if there's a way to produce all the things you're trying to produce and incentivize, how do you incentivize local companies first for the same type of growth and architectural difference you're looking for? How do I go to an existing company and say, we would love to see you improve the looks of your restaurant, because I'm sure they would love to improve them also. They just don't have the fortitude to do it. But if you're willing to help us spur this new look, we would love to incentivize the local company to help us generate and show an example of where we're trying to go in the future and what we're trying to do for the community. Because what you will communicate to the new person coming in is that, man, the city is for existing business. Look what they incentivized to Tacky Jacks. Look how they helped them grow their business. Look how they helped them dial up their facade. I think it's a lot easier to work with the people who are already all in than the ones who are just going to come in, no matter what your flexibility or ambiguity is, to help grow new people coming in. You're just going to invite the sharks, quote, to the ocean, where here we already learned how to deal with sharks. We just need your help in making sure that we continue to stay healthy. And I think if you continue to build with great conversation, I want this to be 100% positive thinking that I'm putting out. I love it. I love vision. I love change. I love listeners. We could all be more feminine skills. You're using really good feminine skills. I think we've run too many cities with masculine skills. We want to run with authority and power. And we don't want to listen or nurture or birth new things, because that takes work.
Thank you for holding this meeting. I think this is some valuable input you're getting. My name is Kevin Corcoran. I'm a partner in commercial properties in the BT1 North District as well as the Waterway Village District. 2 weeks ago, I sent you my thoughts in a detailed email. And by the way, I think Tacky Jacks looks just fine, Ken. I think it's good looking. But I sent my comments to you, and I fully support this program, and I think it's exactly what Gulf Shores needs. I own a business with my partners in the Waterway Village District, and I fully realize this could create competition for us if you incentivize a new operator to come into the area. I think it's what we need. If people look altruistically instead of for their own good, we can find ways to make Gulf Shores better. And I think that, my dad used to say that everybody wants things to be better, nobody wants things to change. So that's a difficult paradox right there. But I think it's a great program. I would recommend that you try to make it easy and I agree with Angie, this can help a local developer stay an operator and an owner, not just a developer to come in and get a hit, because the profits or the incentives don't happen until you're up and running. But I would encourage you to make it an easy process on the front end. The concepts can be discussed to get the temperature of the city to know whether it's something you think could be favorable. That's my issue with the CUP process. You've got to spend a lot of money in site plans and development to even get to the council for CUP to know that they subjectively could turn that down. And that's my issue with the CUP process. I'd like to see it be more organized, if you would, kind of like Ms. Weiger suggested. But I'm all in favor of the TIP program. I still want to encourage you to follow through with ZTA 25-10, which enlarged this district. And I have one question. Is there currently a savings clause in the current districts now that I've heard people mention?
What districts are you talking about?
I'm talking about the current walking overlay district, or their quote-unquote savings clause. I don't know if that's the right term.
Currently in the walking district, it's about 10 blocks, and that overlay district does not permit single-family detached. So the conversation here about expanding that district was offering a savings clause for the single-family detached. There's been discussions about it doesn't allow multifamily, it only allows mixed use, it doesn't allow residential. That's not true. The truth is that in the walking district as it exists today, multifamily is permitted, retail, one story, everything's permitted except for single family detached. The motivation for expanding the walking district was really to disallow cottage subdivisions as single family detached. They're not permitted in the walking district today. So hold on one second, Rosemary. So the conversation has been there's no savings clause in the current walking district. If we were to expand it, what council has been debating and recommended by the Planning Commission was to offer a savings clause for single-family detached to be reconstructed if they're ever torn down by any reason, whether it's a hurricane or just want to rebuild, is offering that savings clause in the expansion of that district.
Thanks for clarifying that. But one more point. I sat in a corner office at Windmill Ridge and Gulf Shores Parkway for 20 plus years, and I can tell you it's a walking district already. People are already walking through there a lot. And to have nicer places to come to, other alternatives would only increase that. And the more we can have people walking around instead of driving around, I think it's better for everybody. Remember that the T in BT is tourist.
Each base. Rose.
In discussing what Lee was referencing and what I was discussing from the March meeting, that I feel like I stated, and I could be wrong, affects the future of the whole area if it is rezoned. From what I understand is that Mayor Kraft said in that March meeting he was not in favor of a savings clause, which would mean a home would not be able to be rebuilt as it existed if there was an event, a fire, or hurricane. Is that correct?
I did say that.
You said, Robert Kraft, that's just me, that's what I feel. And that's fine, I'm not picking on you, I feel like this is an important, because I promise you, more Embassy Suites brings me more customers. That's fine, I don't want that look. I don't think our customers want that look. And I speak to those people, I speak to those tourists every day, the ones who have come here I've had our business for 26 years, and I've been talking to some of these people who are now visiting my restaurant with their grandchildren, like I have a grandchild, like I moved home from Atlanta because I didn't want to live in that concrete mess, and came home to where I grew up to open my business, buy an existing business, and raise my family near their grandparents, and now I'm a grandparent. And that's the generational type of visitor we have to Gulf Shores. And as much as I love all of you residents that support us, you are not going to support high wage year-round by just the 8,000 residents in Gulf Shores and the 17,000 residents in Orange Beach. It's not going to work. And I fully support and love how much local support we have, and we try really hard to give that support back. You are not going to pay high wages. I'm talking, there's not a high schooler, a 16-year-old that doesn't walk in as a bottom level, lowest person on the totem pole host making less than $16 an hour. You're not going to support that year-round with a bunch of expensive stuff that's going to be supported. And I promise you, every Wednesday, when not this time of year, but most of the time, my husband and I, we go to the expensive restaurants because they're the ones not on wait. That's the ones we can get into. Because we went a couple weeks ago, we loved going, we went to the zoo. We do support our other businesses. I really want to give back, but that's not, I don't think you guys have as much as all of us residents, and I don't think that as many residents realize how thin the profit margins can be for business owners here with insurance and property taxes and the cost and the salaries and the insurance benefits that you give to your employees to maintain good quality employees that do stay with you year round. And we do not shut down in the winter, and we do take the loss to keep those quality employees employed year round. And that's not going to be supported by just the locals. So I think that we also need to really consider what our visitors want. And I think that more time to meet with our CBB, that right now in July is not the time that us business owners can meet with you guys, meet with our CBB. And I've tried to have a couple of meetings, but there's no way we can do this in this type of framework, in this type of year, and be functioning in our businesses. And I think that we should also rely on some of our CBB feedback, which I have tried to reach and get and have received, but it's just impossible this time of year.
David Swiger. I think one thing that's come out of this meeting, and I appreciate you guys doing this, I think it's a great step forward, but the one resource that I think we really have to take a good look at, as people like Rosemary and Ken and Kevin and a lot of the business owners, these are smart people. They've owned businesses for decades here. Nobody knows it better than these guys. And I think we need to tap into them as a resource on anything going forward. And I do feel like Angie and I, we've worked really hard. You may be aware of this, we took 2 blighted buildings, and I use the term blighted on purpose, on Highway 59. They were the ugliest buildings in town. We put our heart and soul into them. We're not big shots. We funded it out of our own pocket. It was a terrible place. It had cats and syringes and homeless people. And it was a bad spot. And I think y'all know when I talked about the buildings across from Lounson's that back up to Walmart. I don't think we ever got any credit for this. That's why I'm saying it now. We worked really hard on it. We have 13 tenants in there now. And what I'm really proud of, and I hate the term small business, because there's no such thing as a small business when you own it, I promise you. We have 13 mom and pop businesses in there. And they're the hardest working people you ever meet. And we have a bike rental place. We have a Brooklyn Smokehouse. We have Spoon's Ice Cream. We have Top Sales Steamer that was on Shark Tank. And we've worked really hard over there. And now we're trying to do it again in another ugly building over at the Frith corner, which is no small feat. It takes a lot of guts to try to take that corner and turn it into something dynamite. It's not easy. It's very difficult to navigate. We're having challenges with it now. We had good dialogue. I'll give Jennifer credit because she's done a really great job of being a bridge city and the Waterway Village, and I appreciate that. But I do find myself noting, Angie and I have made a point of going to some other cities. I think the Waterway Village is critical to our success going forward here in Gulf Shores. I really, really believe this. We don't have a downtown. This is our best shot at a downtown. If we don't get it right in the Waterway Village area, I think we're going to make a big mistake. I think we have the ability to do it right because we've got Big Beach Brewery, which is a great business. We have Tacky Jacks, which has a lineage there, which is fantastic. You even have like little Pelican Scoops, and you have another gentleman who's reopening that restaurant that's been there. I think it's called Friendship House. Maybe some of you other people know what that is. I'd love to see that motel turn into something. I think that's a terrible thing. We have some blighted buildings on 59. When you come over the bridge, you have those 2 Pentagon-looking buildings or octagon buildings. I don't know if I wasn't a geometry major apparently, but those 2. I know they're ugly. You got a liquor store and then 2 ugly buildings, and then I don't know what's going on there. You talk about blighted buildings that maybe this might apply to, or somebody talked about maybe having an incentive for people to. We have to wait for somebody to pass away or something in some of these places here in town. You got buildings that have been there for years and years and years and nobody wants to do anything. And it's a shame. And when you do want to do something, it's hard. I can't tell you how hard it is. I will make a bet with anybody in this room. I know King Neptune's looks like it's under construction. Galway's going to move in. If anybody wants to take a bet with me, I'll put $10,000 on the line. I guarantee you that place will not be ready by the end of the year. If anybody wants to take that bet, I'll take it. I promise you they will not have a CO and be operating by the end of the year. And I know nothing about them. All I know is it's supposed to be the Galway people, but that's how hard it is to navigate. By the time you get through every single department and every twist and turn, and you hope you have reasonable people you're dealing with, you get different inspectors out. You get 3 or 4 different inspectors. You don't know who you're supposed to deal with. You have one who come out and he'll give you, okay, here's what you have to do. And if you do this, you're good. And then a different guy comes out. He goes, no, not this, but this. So you satisfy that individual. And I really think we need a small business. This gives us a forum. You got so much pent up. People want to tell you what. These small business owners in this town, like Rosemary, which I think she should be on this. If she's not on this committee, it's a sin. It really is. It really is. I mean, she's earned that right. And I don't know anybody more giving than DeSoto's. But I got to tell you, we love the city. We want to do great. We're trying to fix a corner that's bad. We're doing it out of our own pocket. It's hard. We would appreciate some help. And we would like to be a partner with the city on anything that we can do. Anything that we can do in our corner that would help you guys. I think we're not looked at like an asset necessarily. That fifth corner has to be good. It has to be good. Who wants to go up and down that bridge and look down at that eyesore? We're trying to do it, and we're doing it out of our own pocket. But I will be honest with you, it's tough. It's tough. And to quote the Rolling Stones, but it's tough. And we're trying to get it done. So we appreciate you guys. And thanks for letting me say that. Because there's never an opportunity to say this kind of stuff, but here it is an opportunity. So I appreciate it.
Anybody else?
Yes, sir. Anybody else?
I just want to make a comment. You alluded to, this is part of, in conjunction with the comprehensive plan. So this is just one tool of several that we're working to create all the things that you guys have brought up. So the infrastructure we recognize, we've already begun working on the parking and the infrastructure and the beach and the waterway district. We have a parking study. I think it might be online, I'm not sure. If not, maybe soon, in the Waterway Village that lays out a 20-year plan for parking. So we are planning as business grows to have these things go in place. So it's not like we have it, we're not expecting that we will need more of this, and to plan this into our comprehensive plan, the infrastructure, the sidewalks, all of that. So that is, this is just one component of that, and what has to go with it from an infrastructure side is also part of that. We're also looking at things, programs with the side grants that you spoke to. So that opportunity for existing businesses. So again, just one of the many components that we're looking to support existing and new development. And then the last thing I'll just speak to is the selling of older properties. This is an opportunity, Blake mentioned, a marketing tool to bring people together. So people who may not have been motivated to sell before, or developers to reach out before, this gives an opportunity to now have those conversations that maybe weren't, top of mind. So we are hoping that maybe that does motivate some of that. So all of those things are kind of in the background of thinking through all this. And this is the one component of many to push these. I like the growth forward in a positive way that benefits the residents and the tourists. And one other comment, just down to the west side, I live down there as well. I live on Millridge. So with the walking district, and although that it's been said that the primary goal is just like 59, we spoke to developing that corridor, the West Beach corridor as well. So the businesses, one of the reasons that second is included is because those properties, those properties front first and second. And so for those businesses that are on, West Beach and second, for any businesses that are fronting Beach Boulevard, we really want that or for properties, we really want that to be more commercial. So I was out there walking this morning down to Pier 33, past down Pier 33, and I've never seen so many tourists walking up and down West Beach, going to grab coffee, going to get breakfast, all of that. So it's really to to reduce the amount of gaps and the distance that people are having to go to get them out of their cars and able to walk. So hopefully improving the property values down there, improving the experience down there. That's the motivation, part of the motivation for expanding that district. And we are also working with those restaurants down there with a parking plan specifically for that overflow that we know exists, for Bahama Bottoms and that. So we are aware of the parking challenges and planning for all of that from an infrastructure and walking and safety perspective.
Okay. Anybody else on the council, any comments?
I got a comment from Blake. When you said that if we do an incentive project, it has to be completed. I asked a question the other day. I want to go a little bit further on that question. We do have a couple projects in town that one of them might have been an incentive project. I can't remember. It's been a while. But they were supposed to plan a marine store, restaurant, and stuff like that along with that development as it went forward. That didn't happen. Another one's going to have some restaurants and maybe some townhouses. I like for us to look at, if we're going to end up doing this, is to figure out a way that project has to be completely finished, not two stores or two businesses complete. They start getting the rebate or whatever. The whole project has to be finished. They pay their taxes. Once the project is finished, then everybody starts getting the rebate. I just want to make sure we kind of cover that and look at that a little bit more. I think, because these things are supposed to grow, but they don't ever grow. And I'd like to look at that a little bit closer.
Yes,
and go forward.
We will absolutely have the opportunity, if there's a project that's a multi-phase project, that comes in.
I understand phases.
We've got the ability for every single project that would want to take advantage of this to negotiate specific requirements that can be included in every development agreement with any project based on what the dynamics of that project are. So if those concerns exist on a project, we can put those things into place for that particular project. Just want to make sure we look at that a little bit. Absolutely.
Anybody? Good meeting. Thank you for coming. Thank you for giving us input. Our goal is to work together with you to be the best we can be. And we'll do whatever we can do to help with the incentives that fit the needs of the community to expand and become better than we've been and be the best we can be. That's all this is about. What can we do to help our businesses grow and expand and become better? That's it. That's what we're looking at. These kind of conversations will be ongoing. We've got a lot of fine tuning to do, and there'll be more like this coming. And we appreciate your participation and hope we will continue to do that, but with patience. This isn't going to happen overnight. We don't have a plan ready to roll out tomorrow. And we're not going to do anything until we get fully vetted through and get input from as many sources as we can and understand the questions and comments and concerns that we all work together to be the best we can be collectively together. That's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of work, but we're committed to do something different than we've done before to help. This is the beginning of talking about that. So this isn't going to end. So you'll be called back again and again until we get to the point where we can have something to present to you. Then we'll talk about that until we can get fine-tuned down to where we have projects that will, a plan that will help projects be successful. And I hear a lot of comments about complications getting through the city, and we are aware of some challenges related to that. We're also aware of the responsibilities that we have to make sure things are done right from a public safety standpoint, particularly with the construction world, making sure everything is done exactly like it should be to make sure that you're getting what you're supposed to get that's safe and built to standards that are appropriate and important for your insurance, for everything else. That's not going to change. We're going to continue to do that. If it becomes, we can make it easier, we will do the best we can. But the details have got to be met, and we're going to make sure that gets done. But we're aware of we can do it quicker, we can do it better, and we will do the best we can So again, good meeting. Been a long time since we've had one of these, but it was good to hear from you. So we're going to do it again, and we hopefully hear more. So thank you for being here, and we'll let you know when we do this again. Thank you.
Thank you.